It's Six Flags' best themed dark ride, for sure.
Any of the Six Flags parks.
Out of all of them, there are, I think, like hundreds of animatronics in there. I don't know how they take such good care of them, but they're all super unique. There's good, there's bad ones. They're all scary, I think. So that was part of the thrill. And a catchy song. So what is not to love about this ride? I have nothing bad to say about it.
Hey guys, Reggie and Kayla here with Adventure Barks, and today we're going to be discussing our top 10 favorite rides at Six Flags over Georgia.
So we visited this park in October of 2023 for the first time, and there is a lot to do here, roller coaster and otherwise.
Yeah, they have a great collection of rides. Definitely one of the better Six Flags parks for sure. All right, let's jump into it.
I'm starting with number 10. We've got Justice League. This is a fun shooter game, and you can find these at, I would say, most of the Six Flags around the country.
Yeah, it's cloned to a pretty extensive.
Yeah,
it's been cloned a lot.
If you haven't been to Justice League in Georgia, you may have visited at another park. One of our favorite parts is the Joker animatronic on that big bike, and also the Cyborg animatronic as soon as you go in. The theming, I would say, is pretty stellar given a Six Flags park. So I guess I don't mind that it's been replicated so many times because it really does feel like they put a lot of love and attention into it.
Yeah, it's a really fun shooting ride. Unfortunately, sometimes your gun may not work, which can become very frustrating. And it is mostly screen-based. That Joker animatronic is cool, but it is very heavy on the screens. I wish they kind of had like more set pieces in there. Mm-hmm. Moving on to number 9, we have Superman Ultimate Flight. This is a B&M flying coaster. It's not one of my favorite models, but it's got some cool elements in it. The pretzel loop is always fantastic. So high on the positive G's, it feels like your brain is going to explode going through these pretzel loops. It's something else. Besides that, it's a very smooth ride, floaty through that last inversion. And this ride has also been cloned at a few other Six Flags parks. I think it's the best here because it uses the terrain. There's a tunnel. It's a lot better than being plopped down in a parking lot like you would see in other Six Flags parks.
Definitely. I think it's visually more of a spectacle than it is maybe a fantastic ride.
Right.
That pretzel loop especially does look beautiful against that blue sky. But like we said, it is kind of a one-trick pony with that. And it can kind of meander in places too. Besides that pretzel loop, like it gets a little redundant, I suppose.
Yeah, after the pretzel loop, it doesn't really do much.
Mm-hmm. And that is pretty intense too. And I like roller coasters, but like you said, my brain kind of feels like it's flopping around in my skull when we do the pretzel roll. So, yep. Moving on to number 8, we've got Pandemonium. It's a giant frisbee swing. It is very similar to other models I've been on, maybe even by different manufacturers. But this park does a really good job of using terrain. Just like we said with Superman, it's in a big, beautiful field rather than a parking lot, which I've seen at a lot of other Six Flags. It's a lot of fun, weightlessness. You just basically feel like you're free swinging, and I like the freedom it provides.
Yeah, there's bigger versions of this. There's smaller versions of this. This one is pretty fun. The weightlessness on the max swings is really fun. You're out of your seat for a few seconds at a time. I wish the ride lasted longer if it was like a longer cycle, but I also understand that for capacity reasons they couldn't do this.
It can get a line, and even if you can fit a lot of people on that thing, it just cycles are short.
Yeah, very solid flat ride though, for sure. At number 7, we have Riddler Mindbender. Now this is an old Schwarzkopf looper that was recently refurbished. So it's running very smooth now. You get some great positive G's on those 2 loops. It's got a fresh paint job. Green is my favorite color, so it gets bonus points for that, obviously. Unfortunately, we never got to ride it in its original form, and I hear it was much more intense.
And I think that's where most of our cons come in on this one, too, are, the trim breaks, the pacing gets a little wonky, and that's not what we heard from fans before, I guess. So, yeah, we never got to really experience it in its glory days.
Yeah, they've added a few trim breaks, so it's got pacing issues now. It doesn't run as fast as it used to. It's more comfortable with these new trains, but I would really love to have seen what the old version felt like with the old Schwarzkopf trains.
And it's nice to have another DC property, but that being said, I feel like they just plopped a Riddler sign on there and maybe painted some purple question marks on the train, and they were like, it's Riddler themed now.
Trains do have question marks painted on them.
Yep, so
theming.
Yep, theming. I mean, I guess in Six Flags, maybe that's what you come to expect, but yep, it just seemed like they phoned it in a little bit. At number 6, we've got Batman. This has been cloned into oblivion all over the place, but this seems to be the best one we've ever ridden, and by all accounts, most people agree with us here. It's smooth, it's intense, you've got really super whippy inversions. The G-forces definitely kind of get you there, and I would say it's the prettiest clone because it's blue, and all the other ones I've seen are yellow. So it's nice to see maybe just a little change there.
Yeah, no, nothing bad to say about this ride. Like Kayla was saying, very smooth, very intense through all the inversions. You don't hit your head at all. Every single one of those inversions gets the blood rushing to your feet, and it's just an awesome, fast-paced ride.
And like you said, I just feel like on so many of these over-the-shoulder restraints, I am bumping my head, and I didn't get that here, and that's a big plus for me. A headache could ruin the day.
For being built in the early, mid-90s, like these rides are just standing the test of time.
They are taking care of them here.
All right, before we get into our top 5, we have some honorable mentions that we'd like to go over. First, Blue Hawk, which is an old Vekoma looper, and unfortunately when we were there, it was closed. The chain lift had snapped or something along those lines, and it was just stuck on the lift hill. I don't believe this would have made the list anyway. It's an old Vekoma looper, so I assume it was going to be pretty rough, pretty rattly, but it does have the new vest restraints, so you wouldn't be hitting your head, so that's a plus.
We got a good view of it. It looked like it was a beautiful coaster with a nice paint job against the blue sky, but again, didn't get to ride it. Next on our honorable mentions is the Georgia Scorcher. This is a B&M stand-up coaster, and by all accounts, more tolerable than the others you're going to get.
Yeah, this one doesn't try to kill you as much as other stand-up coasters.
As much.
I think a part of that is it's smaller than the other ones, so the forces aren't as intense, per se, but that's a good thing on these stand-up coasters, because if you've been on a few of them, you'll know what they do to your head and crotch.
Yeah, right? I can't imagine one of those, so...
And just like on your legs too, these things are just rough.
Yeah, it almost feels like a mini car crash, I guess.
Not a fan of this model, but this one is better than most. And our final honorable mention here, we have the Great American Scream Machine. This is an old PTC wooden roller coaster that just had some retrack work done, so it's running very smooth, but it doesn't really do too much. I just feel like we should throw it on here because it just celebrated its 50th anniversary.
It's a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic ride. I love the name.
So at number 5, we've got Monster Mansion. This is my number 1, but I lost that battle here, even though this is truly a spectacular attraction. It's Six Flags' best themed dark ride, for sure.
Any of the Six Flags parks.
Out of all of them, there are, I think, like hundreds of animatronics in there. I don't know how they take such good care of them, but they're all super unique. There's good, there's bad ones. They're all scary, I think. So that was part of the thrill. And a catchy song. So what is not to love about this ride? I have nothing bad to say about it.
Yeah, it's a great boat ride that just goes through this mansion of monsters. Yeah, believe it or not. So many animatronics, like Kayla was saying. Every single one of them was working too. I did not see one that wasn't working. All seems to be good and dandy until you take a wrong turn into the marsh, where things get a bit scary.
Yeah, you don't want to go into the marsh.
Again, some of the good monsters are a little bit scarier than the bad ones, in my mind, anyway.
Yep. This is a little scary, maybe not terrifying, so I think it's a good ride for the whole family. And again, if you just kind of want to like sit down, chill out in a cooler area too, because there's no sunlight in here, this is a nice, relaxing little boat ride. Yeah,
definitely. It might be a little too scary for the youngest of children, but otherwise, fantastic ride. Nothing bad to say about this.
Yep, good fun.
Moving on to number 4, we have a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. That's a very unique one. Daredevil Dive. This thing is awesome. It has the classic Gerstlauer beyond vertical drop, lap bars instead of the over-the-shoulder restraints, so no head banging whatsoever. Absolutely fantastic pacing, whippy inversions, great hang time. This is just such a fun ride.
It is. The only bad things we have to say about it, it is a capacity nightmare. These trains only hold 6 people each, I think, and
3 rows of 2, and we saw them sending out trains with empty rows.
Yeah. So the operation's maybe not fantastic on that. I mean, I know it's tough on a busy day, but that's really when you got to crank out full trains of people. So it was a little devastating to be standing in a long line first thing in the morning also, and just watching it go out with 4 or 5 people. But yeah, besides that, it's unique, it's fun, it's whippy, like you said, and we would have gone on it more than once if it had more capacity.
Yeah, very disorienting ride in the best way possible.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, those trains have terrible capacity, but they are pretty cool.
They are. Number 3 on our list is acrophobia, which means fear of heights. And this is, I think, one of our favorite drop towers ever. This is thrilling. I think that a lot of drop towers fall into the same, bring you up, drop you down, that's it. This lifts you up and tilts you forward, and you're freestanding also, so your legs are dangling. I don't think I can think of another drop tower I've experienced that on.
Yeah, no, it's very unique how you're tilted forward in a stand-up position. It's like very nerve-wracking in that position.
Yep, just staring at the ground.
Way more so than just sitting down like you normally would be.
They drop you at a random time. You have no idea. We were there for Fright Fest, actually, and the person who was operating the ride would sing scary songs while you were up there. You had no idea when you're going to drop, and that just added to the elements. And, like, looking down around, seeing the haunted houses, seeing the decorations, all added to the element of fear.
Yeah, very, very terrifying drop tower, for sure. Moving on to number 2, we have Twisted Cyclone, which is an amazing RMC roller coaster. It has a small layout, but packs so much into it. The first drop and wave turn are absolutely amazing and the best parts of the ride. On top of that, it just has an amazing mix of negative G-forces on the airtime hills and hang time on the inversions. It's a really fun ride.
RMC does a great job of always packing a punch in a small amount of space. And again, I think that's our only complaint, is that it's short, but that does not mean the elements don't happen. It doesn't mean that surprises don't come out.
Yeah, if there were a few more hills or another inversion at the end of the ride, I think it would feel more complete, but again, very, very good.
Yep, always want more with RMC, but less also works. Number 1 on our list is, of course, Goliath, the truly immense B&M coaster. One of our favorite things is just it's a floater airtime machine. I just feel like you're spending so much of that ride getting hurled into the air. And again, a fantastic use of scenery too. This is a pretty park, and I did feel like we were weaving in and out of the trees. And I think that lends to a unique experience.
It leaves the park and goes out over the road and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
so it's very unique in that aspect.
Covers a lot of terrain.
For sure, yeah. Like Kayla was saying, floater airtime machine. This thing has no dead spots, no mid-course brake run on this, which I think is why it might be my favorite B&M hypercoaster I've ever ridden. It's tough between this and Mako.
There's so many good ones. You can't really choose wrong. Cool colors. I know that doesn't make or break a ride, but we do like a nice paint job. It's teal and orange.
Yeah, from start to finish, this thing just does not let up. The only negative I have to say about this is on a few of the valleys you will feel a rattle, but doesn't really
take away from
the ride for me at all. Yeah, for some people, marathoning it with that rattle might begin to affect them, give them a headache. But other than that, it's a great ride. One of the best B&M hypers, if not the best in America. And we are going to Orlando in a few weeks, so I'll get to ride Mako again, and
we'll compare.
Maybe I can finally make a decision at that point. It's close, though.
So there you have it. That's our top 10 at Six Flags over Georgia. We would love to hear in the comments if you agree, disagree, if you think we missed anything. What's your top 10? Well, please let us know. And if you did like this video, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss anything else.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.